Thank you, EC Council. So, topic I'm going to talk about is securing Agentic Enterprise and how we secure the workflow security. So, I'm Mayur Rele. I'm currently Senior Director of IT and Information Security at Parachute Health. I'm also a fellow with 5 different organizations. And then I'm also AI and cybersecurity researcher, and I have published my works in Google Scholar and ResearchGate. If you have any questions about AI, cybersecurity, let me know after the webinar. So why this topic matters now? So we know now in from last year there is super boom in AI and everything is moving to AI. There are a lot of projects in AI. There are a lot of workflows created in AI. So every few months or every few weeks, we are seeing new functionalities which are being launched. So that's what we are gonna look into, and then we are gonna focus more on workflow security, like how to use AI agents and create a workflow that could automate most of our tasks. So AI agents now have a lot of access. So that's one of the questions, because now if you want an AI agent to do a task for you, it needs access, and then what kind of access it needs. So that's what security teams should look into and answer. So that's why this is so important. And then the risk is not only the model, the risk is everything that is connected to the model. So we'll look more about the workflow integration techniques in next few slides. So if you look into the what is like an agentic enterprise. So if you look like an AI agent, that's like a Claude or ChatGPT, any kind of model, could be a recent model that's currently connected, and that's connected to user, which is giving a business request, like you're asking questions to AI. Workflow orchestration is like a middleware, which could be N10, Zapier. There are so many other tools. So you create like a workflow that tells N10 what to do based on the input, and it will take like 3 to 5 or whatever steps you have discussed in workflow. It will do that. AI agent is also connected to MCP, because now what user does is like user connects to AI agent. This could be Cursor, Claude, ChatGPT, any kind of integration, and then this agent has access to MCP. So what it does is like it gets access to MCP using OAuth or token based, and then it looks into that response. So that response could be in a different format, JSON or any other format. Now it learns, and then it creates like a plain text, easier to understand response, so that user knows what's going on. So that's how users normally use. So instead of me going and querying Splunk, Datadog for looking into logs, I will configure an MCP server in Cursor or Claude, and then I will ask questions like, can you give me the last 10 bad IPs that tried to connect to our environment? And it will look into the MCP, get the data, and then it will give me the response with proper analysis. So that's why this AI agent is so important. Business apps and API, these AI agents can have access to different APIs like different products, Salesforce, HubSpot, QuickBooks. It depends on what you're trying to connect, and different APIs like AWS, Azure. So file and structural content is where you're trying to save the files, and then skills and patterns are normally like how you're defining the structure, whether you have a structure defined with agent.md, skills.md or no. And then in the security side, we have to make sure that the users who are trying to connect have least privilege, and they have access what they require instead of fully token-based open access. You need DLP and prompt visibility on what users are trying to do. So there is a way to look into the user prompts, and DLP products can show you that. There are different products like Nightfall, Zscaler that can show what users are trying to do. And later on, you can send these prompts to SIM, and then based on SIM, you can do more research, like what users are trying to do, what wrong they are trying to do. Maybe they are not asking right questions to the AI agent, how many tokens they're using. So yeah, there are a lot of concerns there. Masking and redaction is required because users are very much excited about AI and the way it's writing. So users can paste documents, text, a lot of data, and then in that data might have some token secrets, intellectual property that could be pasted. So you need some kind of a control that can detect and mask, so the AI agent doesn't have access. And then when it's getting response back to the user, it's masked or redacted as well. And you definitely need audit logs on all these AI agents, like whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Cursor, and then how the users are calling, make sure it's the right user who is accessing these tools. So different controls are required. So new threat surface. So over permission tools and connectors. So recently it has been discovered like MCP server is not available for most of the product and services. Some of the like could be maybe 50-60% are available. So the ones which are not available, users try to create their own using an API key. So if you go to an AI, ChatGPT and all, it will give you an own version, which could be a studio based, node based, like NPX, Python based, UVX based. And you just need an API key and the way to connect to that MCP server using either the URL or the domain name. So then that access becomes over permission, because now this is not OAuth based access. This is not scope. This access is not group based. So these users can pretty much access, if the API token is read only, users can access all the data which is fully read only. But if you have segregation in group, so for marketing, IT, security, maybe security and IT might have more data than marketing, engineering, and other departments, then that's like a scoped access. So that's why, over permission of tools is very important. Sensitive data leakage through prompts. This can happen accidentally. No one is gonna commit that mistake, but users might get excited and copy paste documents which might have some sensitive data. Weak authentication and authorization, same stuff. Not everything is OAuth and HTTP based. There are a lot of products which are customized. So untrusted dependencies, there could be a lot of dependencies in the products that are not fully visible to the user. So the other problems are indirect prompt injection, and we'll see as an example like what it can do. Plus confused deputy, like agent uses his own privileges, because agents can have more privileges to carry out jobs. It depends on how the agent is connected. There are a lot of connectors and plugins available in Claude, ChatGPT cursor you can connect to, and based on that, agent can have full privileges to make its own decision. And then lethal traffic ties, kind of, private data, untrusted IP, and then exfiltration, if that's one of the workflows, is doing that. And we'll see as an example how this can be done. So now let's look into indirect prompt injection attack. So maybe think of a user who has Claude desktop installed. In Claude desktop, you have 3 tabs, chat, co-work, and code. So maybe in the co-work, you have an automation which says that when you get an email, do this, and then send it back to the user, or maybe whoever emailed you, send it back to that user. So for example, this is the example for the email. Oops. So where it says, someone is asking for a password reset, and then it's also injecting some kind of a malicious code in that email. And then now AI looks into that flow, and then it looks into the password reset, but then now it also takes a hidden instruction, which is like get the sensitive account data and then send it to an external address. So they can auto email that looking into your sensitive data to the hacker. So this is one of the problem. And then how do you get around the problem? So any type of co-work or cron jobs that you're writing in Claude should be verified. Maybe don't send it directly to the user. Maybe keep that as a draft and you can verify. You need more of a policy control as well. Like maybe Claude has options for allow, default allow, verified checks, and deny. So maybe everything should be in verified checks, so you can verify. If you're writing something complicated, if it's super simple, then it could be always allow. There should always be a DLP protection so that you can do the audit on what happened in line. So DLP tools are agent based, and they can also look into inline, like based on TLS in transit. So it can look into most of the data, and then it can prevent that data as well if the AI agent is trying to do something malicious. Like in this case, it's trying to look into the sensitive data and send it to an external address. And then AI agents are also trained. You normally have your history enabled, so then anything malicious coming through automation could like erase your history, learn from your history, because AI knows if you're not retaining history, then that's fine. But then I think you see much value retaining history. So in ChatGPT, Claude cursor, you normally retain history to know what's going on, and agent learns from itself, like what it did in the previous. It will automatically take that instructions and give you better answer. So this is like an autonomy of workflow, user input, orchestration layer. We are going to see that what kind of orchestration we can use. There are different ways to automate that. So there are different products like Accredited, Zapier, Make that can be used. And then it goes to model, and then based on what the orchestration is asking model or whatever the user is asking model will take next steps, connect to different tools, because model has to connect to tools if you're asking for a data which has dependency on tools, and then you get an output. So on the security side, you should put like an input validation, verify the user has restricted scope, is not fully open, user not putting any confidential data. You should have policy checks. This can be pushed through MDM. Most of the laptops in MacBooks you have Jamf, Jump Cloud, Eru, and in Windows it's Active Directory. And then DLP, same thing, look into all the data, critical data. DLP works as an inline agent installed on each end user machines, and then output, like keep the logs of what's going on. So tomorrow, if you want to go back and see what was the problem, you may not discover the problem right away. It might take some time, but then at some point, you might be able to discover if you have logging enabled. So now how do we secure the workflow automation? So based on the trigger, we normally send a webhook to a workflow, and then the workflow we are going to see mostly in the next few examples about how you can configure and workflow to automate what you're looking for. Then it's model decision making. Model has access to different APIs, and then you need some. So once these steps are done, you need some kind of an approval gate or human policy, which can look like what these steps are done, maybe in sandbox are correct, and then you're not doing something malicious. Some kind of check should be there. So there are different tools which can do that. I think AI Guard as a product is available from Zscaler, I think Fiddler, Datadog, which can be inline and can work as an approval gate that installed as an SDK in the application. So now let's look into workflow. So what is workflow? So this is an example from N10. So you can do the same thing in Zapier, Make, Windmill, Make.com, Windmill, and Zapier. So if you go there, maybe if there is a way to test some free workflows, you can register your own account and configure. So you're trying to automate some of the process. So in this example, you want to automate some bad IPs and make sure the IPs have a good reputation and history. So this data could come from email, this data could come from DLP. So you want to automate that. So you put some kind of a trigger, either using a Slack or email, and then this will auto execute the workflow. So workflow will connect to VirusTotal, get some insights on URL and IPs. It will do a URL scan. It will create a report, and it will give you a report either in email, Drive, Slack. It depends on what you're trying to do. So this is how the workflows are configured, and most of the companies are trying to automate stuff. So yeah, you can easily configure this with Make and Zapier as well. Make, I think, allows some of the free hours, I think 10,000 free hours or something like that, where you can test different functionalities. Like if you are looking for some insights from SIM, make sure you're able to give that output through email or maybe Excel file, or manually upload on SFTP, and then it will do the analysis and give you the insights. So this is like a second workflow. Here you're trying to onboard a new user, add them to automated groups. So you add the user information in the form. AI agent could be anything. It could be cloud models like Opus, Haiku, ChatGPT, anything you like, Gemini. And then it will connect to the Anthropic chat model if required. Postgres is required for chat history, so you're not repeating the user information if you accidentally add the same user information. It will look into the data that was inserted and give you some insights here. It can also check if you have the IDs created in Microsoft and Jira and what kind of access they have. This can fully be automated. And then is the user a manager? What kind of department the user belongs to? And then based on that, add them to different Slack channels. So these are some of the examples. there are a lot of workflows. If you go to n10.io, they have some workflow templates. So these templates are already created. All you have to do is either create an account there and test these templates out, or maybe do a local install of n10 in your environment, maybe an EC2 server or something, and then download those templates and then test it out. So MCP servers play a big role. So we are looking from last year, there has been big boom in MCP servers. Each product is trying to launch an MCP server. So me, instead of querying databases or tools which have huge amount of data, where I know it's very complicated, I want to use an MCP server. So I connect to that MCP server, I ask questions. MCP server AI agent will look into the answers and it will give me a focused reply. So it saves my time connecting, but there are some issues with that. So you don't have visibility. Some of the MCP servers are standalone. So you need some kind of an MCP gateway. Again, there are a lot of solutions there. So this needs a solution. There might be some free open source solutions as well in GitHub, like MCP Jungle, but there are enterprise solutions as well, like Nightfall, Mint, which can create a gateway. So you have 5 standalone products which are token based, and then you don't want user to get full access. So in that time, you provision those products which are not officially supported for MCP, but they support some kind of API based call or token based calls. You connect them to a product, and then that product will give you access based on HTTP. It's their product that will do, and then you create groups in that product about what kind of access you want to give to the user. But there are some products like Jira, Slack, Datadog, so many which have plugins and skills. So these are OAuth based. So when you log in, they ask you to authenticate. Once you authenticate, they look into the permissions and access, what kind of access you have, and then that is nicely provisioned, and then you get scoped access. So this is how you normally secure using an MCP gateway. You make sure that you are authorized, authn and auths, authorization and authentication layer. You have a policy check like allow list, like what users are allowed to allow. Scope data, what kind of data you have. Maybe is there a way to mask it? So you can also create your own workflow in n10. So if you have some kind of PHI, PII, PCI, credit card data, you can put like your own workflow in place where you can mask that data inline. So this is what you do, and then this is safer. So this is how the MCPs are done. But normally users connect from Cursor Cloud to custom MCP servers. So those MCP servers don't have any protection unless you have AI agent or AI guard installed on your workstation that can look into that. So DLP prompts and visibility. So you need visibility on what users are prompting. It's not like spying them, it's getting idea of how much token usage they are doing. Are they using the right prompts? Because you need to know like what AI understands. And based on that, you need to ask the right prompts so that AI can give you right answers. Otherwise, you might just keep using tons and tons of token. So token usage is mostly company based. If you have a standalone license, then you don't have to worry about it. Those are not scoped for token. Mostly they're unlimited. But then when you have a company based product, there is a way where you have a token usage somewhere in line defined. So here, once the prompt is added by the user, I think DLP should inspect the prompt and see if it's right, if it has any secrets, any confidential data, make a decision and then send it to model. This is like a good inline way to do that. Requires a DLP agent installed on the end user machine. And then you normally, if you don't feed any confidential data to the model or the agent, then I think you are in safe hands. And then, this is the way you can detect, and this is the way you can respond, mask, redact, block, escalate. There are different ways you can do that. And then this data, DLP data can also be forwarded to SIM, which is centralized. It could be Splunk, Grafana, anywhere you want to send. You just need to make sure the AI agent or LLM that you are using are supporting Hotel. Hotel is kind of a forwarder. So Hotel will forward all the data to the SIM, and then in the SIM you can create a dashboard and see what the user is trying to do. So there are different ways to do that. AI Guard and DLP can do that inline as well, because they are installed as an agent and they can look for data in transit and data at rest. So stopping, so this is one of the example, like stopping a secret leak attack. So maybe developer is using AI like Cursor or Claude to develop the code. He's copying and pasting files or code snippets, but then he accidentally copies a secret or credentials in the file. There should be a process to look into that. How do we stop that? So make sure DLP is in line, or there is kind of a workflow configured so that looks into the data, and it either warns the users or it masks or it blocks that. Masking is super good so that the AI agent doesn't see it and user is not irritated. If you block, then user some users might get irritated, but it's the right way to do. And then you have to make sure the whatever the DLP is inspecting is not a false alert. If it's a false alert, sometimes the DLP looks into regex, and then based on the regex, it could match anything that's random, and it could come as a secret, but it's not a real secret. So that mechanism should be in place. So tokens should be scoped. If you are trying to do anything, they should not be forever and should follow the least privilege access. Uh, do redaction if possible in plain text if their secrets exist. And then if you figure out if there is a compromise or a secret or credential been copied to an agent, immediately rotate the credential, talk to your IT security team that accidentally pasted the keys, and then you can easily rotate the keys for the secrets. If it's credential, then that has to be changed. And then if you don't have any mechanism in place, at least figure out a way to monitor the prompts. So easier ways to forward the prompts from your LLMs could be Claude, Gemini, anything using an hotel or a forwarder to SIM, and then in the SIM you can create an alert. SIM have different ways to detect the secrets. They also might have templates which are already designed, so you get some visibility there. So there is also a way recently discovered that a lot of users in companies are deploying vibe coded apps, because engineering normally manages all the app deployment, but recently product managers and non-tech users would like to create their own app. So if you have a Claude desktop version installed and that has chat, co-work, and code, so if you can go in Claude Code and you can develop your own app. So if you have seen the news, people have designed their own versions of YouTube, own versions of e-commerce websites. You can pretty much do it based on the token usage. It won't take that long, maybe might be done in few hours with limited functionality and maybe full-blown deployment in few days. And then once you develop the code, you can locally test it. So if you have a Claude code, you have a way to preview and test it locally. It will be installed in a VM environment. Claude normally installs on your local desktop. And then once you are done, it will ask you where you want to deploy the code. So Claude Code has a connection to Vercel, Netlify, and then any websites that you have connection to. If you have your website hosted in GoDaddy, maybe 1&1, you just need to create a token-based or credential-based connection with Claude Code. Make sure the tokens are saved in a different environment variable, and Claude doesn't have direct access to it. It's taking it from a saved directory. And then based on the use case, you can deploy. But then in this case is, you may not have total control. So if there is anything intellectual property, whatever you are developing, maybe you might have some secret and keys you don't have a visibility into it. So you need an inline scanner. So once your code is developed and tested locally, you need to install some kind of free tool. There are a lot of free antivirus scans, a lot of free vulnerability scans. So maybe run the scan and then see if it's exposing any kind of secrets, like Turflehog. Claude has its own scan. These are good for scanning secrets, credentials accidentally injected in your code, so that they are not deployed to the portal you're trying to host your website. If you're doing an in-house deployment, you normally would use Argo workflows, GitHub Actions, Jenkins, and there are different products you can use. So in that, you can put something in the pipeline. So static scans using SonarQube, Sonar Cloud, Sync. There are so many available. I think Datadog has one as well. DeepSec has one as well. There are a lot of open source in GitHub. If you search, you might be able to find. So these can be included in pipelines. So users who are using Cursor and Claude to create a pull request in GitHub goes through that scanning mechanism. Claude has its own tools as well, which can scan for vulnerability, which can review the pull request as a code reviewer. And then this, if you're doing it for the company, it should be reviewed by peer developer as well, so that they can look into the pull request. So there are different ways to do that. So this is some of the controls that are good for AI deployed apps, AI deployed pull request. So this is kind of an example for DevSecOps agentic stack. So code change in the GitHub, build and package, make sure you are putting security scans in place, you have a policy gate, and then you're deploying and you have runtime monitoring. So there are a lot of products which can do runtime monitoring. Normally, you are deploying code in EC2 or container based in Kubernetes. So I think there are products like CloudFence, Laceworks, which can do a runtime monitoring and see if there are any issues with the containers. But it's good to decline in the security scan inline using Sonar Cloud, Sonar Cube, and other things when you're pushing the code. So static scans definitely required. There are a lot of free products to do that. Secret scans are required as well. There are a lot of free tools and products that can do that. Turflog, 3V, and I think there are so many Horsec scans that can look into the secrets and dependencies. Make sure you have infrastructure as a scan enabled as well. So I think Lacework, Soluble, Sonar Cloud can do that as well. And then you can also add AI specific checks like prompt login, not adding any confidential data in README. So normally you create README, and with AI, this process has been automated now. You don't have to do it manually. Make sure README doesn't have any confidential data. So take a pass. If it has, then I think it should be sensed in the security scan before the code goes to the GitHub. So that's like a good way to do that. And then you need kind of a governance model for AI. So define the ownership of AI workflows. Like we saw AI workflows in n8n. So you can create similar workflows in Zapier, Make. So make sure these are backed up either to Drive. There is an automated way to back them up. Uh, then they have ownership, like who is the owner of that workflow. So you can keep them involved. Make sure the workflow has logging enabled. So any changes in workflow, what breaks, you have visibility of that. So this should be defined. Create an approved use case and prohibited data categories. So if you know your data is in database, decline connection from workflow to database, or maybe just give access to some tables which are useful. Always read only, no read writes for all the AI automation. Everything should be read only. Read write could be in some cases, but not for the data that touches database. Read write could be small use cases like Excel files, making, modifying changes, something like that. Set logging, retention, monitoring. There are different tools that will do that. Datadog, Zscaler, so many. Put some lightweight review paths in checks, making sure that whatever you're trying to automate is been going through checks, different checks in line, and then continuously try to improve the controls, like see how this workflow can be improved, how the token usage can be brought down. Are we exposing too many data? Are we over provisioned in terms of access? So there should be a kind of a document in either Notion, some of the documenter portal, Jira, Confluence, where you know this control exists and you're continuously checking every few weeks or every quarter, every month that this has been optimized. Along with that, if you're fully adopting AI, you should put some kind of a framework in place like ISO, NIST, you know, OSWAPs, LLM. So they came up with a new way to detect into the LLM top 10 agentic security, and this is an open web group, so anyone can join this. If you just Google them and then join, you can join mostly free membership or some kind of paid, like maybe $50 a year, and then you get a lot of visibility there. And then yeah, you can look into different ways to put the frameworks. High trust for healthcare is also coming up with AI framework as well. So if you have an AI framework in place, that means like someone from third party is looking into these controls. Like Third-party auditors are looking into what you are doing into AI. So you have an extra pair of eyes. What you are trying to do is been secure, or maybe it's following the right process. Do you have the right policies in place? So one of these controls should be good to have if you are heavily dependent on AI. So this is one of the practitioner checklist. Inventory all your AI workflows, tools, MCP servers you have. Non-tech users can also create MCP servers. All it takes is like just put some prompts in ChatGPT, Claude, and it will tell you how to create an MCP server, how to install an MCP server. Cursor and Claude can self-install MCP servers for you. All you need is some kind of an access, like token and also. If you get the token or access or HTTP-based access from IT and security teams, and that product supports MCP, you can connect. The products that don't support MCP, there is a way to connect to the API using a token and then get the response, and then the AI agent will give you the response based on the questions you're asking. So you're asking like, give me the 10 bad IPs that connected to EC2 server in last 3 months. So maybe you don't have a way to connect to AWS via an MCP, but then you have access and secret keys. The Claude and Cursor can connect to AWS using the keys, connect to the EC2, get the data from CloudTrail, and now shortlist the plain text for you, so it's easy to understand, like these are the users, these are their identities, these are the locations they are connecting from. So it can do everything else, but we need to put safeguards in place. If you have a DLP product or AI guard in place, that takes care of the local MCP installs as well. So you have end-to-end visibility, map the trust boundaries, and see where the sensitive data enters and leaves. So you can pretty much create flow diagrams in Miro, Lucid Chat. There are so many tools, Claude, that can create diagrams for you. Just give it a context that this is the diagram that you want to create. These are your endpoints. This is data that enters in and out, and then it will do it for you. And then once you have that diagram, you can keep that in a centralized place so the users are aware and IT security teams are aware where the data enters and leaves. So some kind of a flow diagram is required to get more visibility on how users are using AI, and then what's your entry and exit point. Enforce least privilege as every time as possible. Configure everything OAuth based instead of Studio based, which supports Node, NPX, and Python. Go for OAuth HTTP based. Make sure masking and DLP protection is in line. Using some kind of a controls. If you don't have masking and DLP protection, make sure you're sending those logs to a centralized location. And then always secure your deployment pipelines. This will help you in code reviews. Anything accidentally pushed into the pull request, it might get caught. A lot of tools like static and dynamic analysis can are old, but with AI, there are a lot of new tools coming up to look into the request. So those tools will use some tokens, but they will give you more visibility. They will give you, so in the older version, like few years back, when you're using static scans, it would normally tell you the CVs and what the problem is. With the help of AI, it will tell you in plain text, like this is how you fix, this is what your problems are. Like for example, look into Nessus. Like if you run into the Nessus scans or any vulnerability scans which are dynamic, it gives you tons and tons of vulnerabilities, but then how do you fix them? There is only few documentation available on that. Nessus might give you some process, but it's not accurate steps. But if you just paste that vulnerability that you're looking to fix from Nessus output or from any of your internal, AI will give you exact steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. This is how you fix that. And it becomes super easy to fix the vulnerabilities. So fixing vulnerabilities, definitely use AI as much as possible. Use different tools which are possible. And then keep a regular review for the models. Like there are a lot of new models coming up, Claude, ChatGPT, newer versions coming up. So Claude recently came up with Fable, Opus 4.8, Mythos. There are so many new models coming up every few weeks or months. Make sure you're using the latest models. Those are like little bit much better than the older one, and then older one get deprecated at some point. So some of the key takeaways: Agentic AI expands. There is a way for an enterprise attack surface as well. because there are ways to confuse AI using prompt injections, data poisoning, looking into your history, and also you need some kind of a tool to look into that. So highest often risk are in normally in workflow design. Like you have a stronger deadline, you just want to get the work done. You pretty much want to do anything that is possible because of the timeline. So you want to do something easy. Make sure that has been reviewed by someone. You have right scope permission. Don't rush into that. And if you rush, then make sure that this was rushed and you come back and then redesign that. MCP server and orchestration layer, they should have boundaries. So MCP gateway is like a need now. Anyone who has more than 10 or 15 MCP servers should start looking for a solution like MCP gateway, which will give you more visibility, like authorization, authentication layer, plus scope token access, OAuth based access. Uh, Make sure the MCP servers are not exposed on internet, available from outside. Most of the plugins and connectors are. But if you have some MCP servers which have confidential data, then just put them behind VPN, like your databases, Redshift, and all. If you're connecting to some tables, they should be on behind VPN. Any confidential data, intellectual property should not be on open internet where you are connecting to MCP servers on DNS name, which is exposed on the internet. That's not a good practice. And you need a lot of visibility into DLP, governance layer, pipelines, masking, and then governors should be enabled. Look for some kind of an audit control, uh, like some kind of an audit framework like NIST, ISO, anything that fits into your AI goals so that there is some pair of eyes from third party looking into that. When you do the pen test, red team assessments, make sure AI is included as a scope everywhere. At least look for prompt injection, data poisoning, and other stuff. Yeah, so that was about the AI. There are a lot of topics in AI like vibe coding and other stuff we could talk, but we have limited time. Yeah, they have to be continuously governed. So there is no way to certify them as a secure unless they are behind the VPN and you don't have access to the confidential data. So if your workflow is super simple, it's not doing much. Like, for example, you are getting a lot of spam emails. So now you create a workflow in Cowork or N10, which looks into your emails, which is your personal email now, and it moves the spam or any marketing emails to a different folder. So now this is super simple workflow. So this has to be continuously governed. So, but then it depends on what kind of workflow you're trying to do. If it's your work email, then your work email might have some confidential data, then that cannot be certified as secure. If your personal email, low priority data, no credit card or personal information available in emails, then that can be certified as secure. But then if you have some everywhere, you might have some data that could be personal or confidential, so it can never be certified as secure. It has to be continuously governed, and then you need to put the right practices in place. Yeah, so there are focus teams for AI, either IT security or AI team. So the things which are critical, you need human in loop, like pushing code in production repositories, needs a peer approval along with AI checks. You can fully automate the pull request scans through AI. So AI can also do static scans. It can also review your pull request, make sure if there are any errors in your pull request, it can tell you what the errors are. But then you still need some developer peer reviewed in that cases where you get more insights. So human in loop is still required in most of the cases. So we are not there yet, but maybe in next few years we might come to a process which is fully automated and solid. But right now, human in loop is pretty much required in most of the cases. If there could be some small cases like deploying a marketing website, or maybe you're deploying something in staging and all, where you don't need a human in loop. But in most cases, you do. And then if the humans are missing the context, then you have AI for it. So AI is more accurate than humans, but then AI can make mistakes too. So uh, like few years back, we used to review the pull request using peer developer. So now you have AI checks. So there are different products like Coded Rabbit, Claude, which can look into the pull request, can tell you what's wrong, if there are any misspells, if there are any indentation mistakes. format mistakes it can look and tell you. Sometimes it becomes difficult for human to find that, so AI can do that. So it's like a joint responsibility. You need human reviews to make sure AI is not making mistakes, and then you need AI to make sure that you are giving as much information for the human so that the things that you are doing in like 10 to 15 minutes are done in like few minutes. So with AI, you save time. Yeah, so AI workflows, whatever you are creating in Zapier, Make, N8N, those has to be reviewed, and then you have to give this responsibility. You have to define an owner for that workflow. So normally you create like a folder, and then you have 5 workflows. So create like a folder structure and then define an owner who is going to be an admin and editor to those workflows. Those workflows can also be verified using AI tools. So now we are using N8N, Zapier, or Make for the workflows. Claude can connect to them. Claude can verify, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini can verify the workflows are designed correctly and optimized. If the workflows are using a lot of tokens, it can tell you. If there is a security risk, it can tell you. Plus, you now have an internal owner who understands how these workflows are created and make sure, like, we saw 2 examples of workflows, IT ops and SecOps. So then IT ops as an IT owner, SecOps as an Sec owner. So they understand what this workflow does. And then AI, like Claude, which is connected to scan the workflows, understands whether it's over provision or we are doing the right stuff. And then is there, instead of using 7 steps, can you optimize in 5 steps? So it's like a joint responsibility. You can use, you can connect some kind of an LLM to the workflows, plus define an internal owner who knows what these workflows do. Yeah, so it depends like how much the agent is used. So you might have to give the right prompt and right context to the agent. So sometimes there are a lot of prompts. If you just Google like the prompts library or how to write the right prompts, there is a lot of guidance available on the internet. So some users who are new to the AI may not be fully talented to write the right prompt. So they might need a lot of iterations in that. So they might just start with basic stuff and then ask questions, then ask questions. So some users might need 5 prompts to get the answer. Some users might get 1 prompt to get the answer. So you need like a prompt trainings, and there are a lot of prompts. If you just Google like prompts library, there are like a lot of prompts available. And then if you just put like how do you train users on the prompt usage, there is a lot of guidance available. So if you're using the right agent and you're using the right prompt, you will get the right output. Uh, but then in case if you are not getting the right output, then you have to put it in the right phrase and right form so that AI understands that this is what you're looking for. AI can also correct and change the response. Sometimes I've seen ChatGPT giving like 2 or 3 responses, like which one do you like? So they are also optimizing their product, like how to better serve the people and the purpose. In workflows, if you're writing your own workflows using N8N, uh, you can also put like a feedback mechanism in place where if you're not getting the right output from the agent, you can give a feedback, and then agent can go back and see what wrong it did. So there are different ways to correct that. But there's a lot of guidance on prompt library online. There are a lot of MCP servers which are created online for different purposes. Normally in GitHub, there is a lot of guidance there. In traditional cybersecurity, the issue was like there was not much of an guidance. And then looking to massive amounts of data, like investigating fraud or hack would take tons and tons of time. Like if you look into breach notification policies, people normally put 30 days, 60 days, because they're not confident that they are able to resolve the breach within the time duration. If you look into SolarWinds breach, it took them like months and weeks to analyze the data. And then I think that breach was even discovered by some third party. So with Agentic Enterprise and AI, you have a chance to automate the loopholes, automate the data, which is massive amount, like the data in SIM. You have massive amount of logs in SIM. Use AI to create dashboards, use AI to create alerts, use AI to create regex patterns. Uh, AI can pretty much do everything, like analyze large amount of data in Excel, in SIM. AI can also look into your pipelines in GitHub and make sure those are right configured. AI has a lot of scanning tools which can be added inline, and it can give you visibility in plain text. So instead of user getting technical terms in cybersecurity CV with value of 10, CV with value of 9, and small context on how to fix that CV, AI can give you inline steps like step 1, 2, 3. This is how you fix, and it can give you the right approach as well. All you need is do testing. So cybersecurity and IT, the things get easier when you use AI. Uh, yeah, I think for all the CVs, for all the reports, if those are not confidential, and then most of the AI models like Claude, ChatGPT, they also have BA protection in place, like business associate agreement, some kind of a contract where they promise that they are not going to share your data. And you can also use the local models like Cursor and all, which is locally installed, Jan, Misty, and then they connect to the models. Again, now models are contract based and BA based. They are not trained. Your data is secure. You can put whatever vulnerabilities you have, and it will give you a brief overview of how to fix that, how to stop that. Normally, the vulnerabilities are because of some exploit or bad code, or because of package upgrades. With AI, you can do and dependency and package updates that can be automated. Renovate, renovate bot, dependent bot in GitHub. There are so many other new stuff coming up which can auto create the pull request, update the dependencies. So yeah, AI can solve a lot of threat models and cybersecurity problems. Yeah, there are some security risks. So then, the way you protect the organization is like by putting a contract, kind of a BA or any contract, non-disclosure in place so that you are protected by the agents. Uh, if you're just using something which does not have a long-term contract, I would say don't use them in production because of the security risk. So recently, United States uh, submitted some guidelines on not to use DeepSeek and other models which are outside of United States, which could be problematic. So um, there is a lot of guidance available. So some of the models look into your data and then train and improve themselves, and they can misuse that data as well. So that's why these AI agents should have a proper contract, non-disclosure, BA in place before using them in production. So you are protected with the company. So normally Claude, ChatGPT, all the bigger versions, Google, Gemini, and all, they would support a contract base. So they certify that whatever data you are injecting or inspecting is not used or misused by them, not shared to others accidentally. If you look few years back, ChatGPT version 3 or 4, they had accidentally leaks in their data where they shared some data from one user to another. So that has been fully optimized from last year for the reputed firms, but there are still some firms like DeepSeek, and then there could be some more which have low reputation, bad reputation in security, and then most of the companies are blocking them from Zscaler. So users are not opening any free models and pasting the data and then getting input from there. So this has to be controlled by IT security. Put a policy in place and force your teams to use a centralized model. Like select one product, what do you like, whether OpenAI, Claude, Google Gemini, like few of the market leaders. Just select a product and ask everyone to use that. And then if you are using Claude, just block OpenAI, Gemini, saying that users that we have contract with Claude, we want users to use Claude. And then if there are any concerns with the agent output, just let us know. But then block the other models so it won't confuse the user on what to use. So yeah, there are different ways to work. EC Council is doing the right stuff, AI awareness, security awareness. There's a lot of CyberTalks are really helpful. So if you're looking for new job opportunities, career in cybersecurity, or maybe you're trying to improve your knowledge in cybersecurity, what's more recent, latest and greatest news, subscribe to EC Council, CyberTalks, and other exams. So those are really good for getting knowledge and then keeping up to date on what's happening in the world. So I would really thank EC Council for that.